Life is complex, and yet, with the help of meditation, it can be made very simple. One can rise spiritually and look at the whole life and analyze its problems, causes of the problems, and then transcend it to find the joy, the happiness in life. But it doesn't happen. Why is that? Because we have picked up the wrong identification as a body and the mind. Mind is a very efficient mechanism, a tool that has been given to us. Every time the body sees the objects, people, situations, all of whom have forms, they have shape, they have size, they have depth, they have height, width, everything. And all these objects, when the body sees the information about those objects, people or situation, is fed to the mind through the five senses. So mind recreates those objects, people or situations within itself. Is extremely sophisticated computer. If you smell a rose, the beauty of the rose, the color of the rose, the fragrance of the rose, everything comes to you. And the mind recreates your experience with the form of the rose, and then it stays as a permanent memory. Since all the forms are transient, because the forms keep on changing, mind tries to grasp almost infinite varieties of forms, objects, situations. And that's where all the problems happen. Mind sees the objects, likes the objects, uses the body to go to those objects, or mind hates the objects and uses the body to run away from the objects. So mind, body, and the rest of the world, these are all interplays of the forms. But the forms came from somewhere. You as a form came from your parents, and parents as a form came from their parents, and it goes on till the first life that evolved from the rocks and minerals and DNA, probably seeded from the galaxies. We don't know. But even those lifeless rocks and minerals and all those material has to have an origin, which it did, which was nothing but primordial gas of the sun. And where did the sun come from? ultimately goes back to the Big Bang Theory, where in 1 second all the energy was exploded to form the mass, to form the atoms and molecules and all the subatomic particles and various combination of all these things. So that was the origin of the forms. But the form itself came from formless. The formless was totally different than the forms, because forms had limits. They had shape, they had size, they had color, and they were ever changing, dynamic, and they still are. The energy that was before the forms were created was formless, without any shape, size, color, limits. And since it did not have a form, it had no birth and death, like the forms which are born, maintained, and destroyed. It's a continuous process. This energy also had awareness. So through meditation, if one can observe the mind and the body, can transcend the world of forms and can become formless. Of course, there is a sacrifice to make. Your identification with your mind, your body, and the world has to be witnessed as an observer, only as an observer. And that witness state throws you into the infinite, formless existence. Formless existence is the source of all the forms of the universe, all universes. We don't know. But formlessness does flow within you. And that's where the ultimate joy, ultimate peace, tranquility, it all exists there. Because all our sufferings are because of the forms. We like the forms, we run after. We dislike the forms, we run away. All these things is what creates the samsara. All our emotions, negative emotions, stressful emotions, everything is geared towards the existence that we know with the forms only, because we have never experienced the formless existence. We remain as forms, which is our body and the mind, and we keep on juggling with these objects, whether they are live or not live. We try to possess them, run after them. Our desire to possess them is what creates the problem. Our anger, our greed, our hatred, our jealousies, anger, all these things are the byproduct of this world with the forms. Because forms are not something that can be acquired or hoarded or kept forever. So we are living a life of ignorance, foolishness. It's like we try to run after a rainbow, thinking it is something that we can go and catch it and put it in our pocket. It doesn't happen, because formless existence is what created the forms. And that formless existence is in front of us in the form state. And we are not able to recognize its formless existence. So we run after the forms. Our anger is created by the other forms and our reactions to the other forms. We end up in discussions, arguments. These are all interactions of the forms, and such forms who have no knowledge of that formless states. Because once you step into the realm of the formlessness, there is joy, because all the sufferings of the forms are over. All the reactions in the formed world seems meaningless, because you have acquired the peace of formlessness. All your emotions, which are generated in the world of the forms, become meaningless, and the peace and the tranquility comes, which is your nature, and it is you who is peace, who is tranquil, and who is infinite. Along with this comes the infinite strength and infinite energy, which so far was being wasted on the world of the forms. Now it remains where it is, with the proper understanding that all the runnings of the samsara are useless. The forms that we run after, they change in a minute, hours, days, weeks, years, but they do change. And if they don't change, you change in minutes, hours, days, and weeks, and years. It's a continuous flux where your body and the mind are locked in. And it's a continuous flux. That's what samsara is also. It is just a dance of the formless. Just because the formless decided to dance. Why? Nobody knows. It created the forms. But we have taken the forms too seriously. And that's what has created the problems for us. So meditate, experience the formless existence, take it with you all day long, 24/7, by remaining aware of every single moment. And you will find the tremendous amount of joy and peace within you. Yesterday, I was having some discussions with my wife, which happens time to time. And usually, I just try to avoid the discussion and walk away, do something else. But yesterday, I just stayed there. And suddenly I experienced my formless existence. Suddenly I became a witness of my own body and its surrounding, and my wife talking. All these things became a drama being played in front of me. It's not that I was not responding. I became responseless. I became formless, so there was no way for me to form a response because I was a witness. It suddenly threw me into that state, and somehow the joy erupted for me to realize that I had escaped from the situation, which was unpleasant, by going into a formless existence. And I started laughing, which was a totally inappropriate response for the situation. And that confused my wife totally. And she had no idea why I was laughing and why I was so happy despite the discussions going on. Because the world of the forms did not remain a pleasure for me, and at the same time a source of suffering for me, because I was apart from that world of the forms. I was formless, which could only witness. And that escape gave me tremendous joy. And of course, the situation got diffused. Then we both started laughing. I was laughing with a meaning. Her laughing was just in response to my laughing. As frequently we do laugh a lot. But this laughter was different, which only I will know. She will not. So the ways of the formless existence are strange, totally different than sansar. You cannot explain to them, but you can share with your friends who are on the same spiritual journey. So hopefully I have made myself clear about being formless. Pursue it, enjoy it, love it every second, because someday you will be folding your tents and moving on. Death will come, but the death will be to the forms, which is the mind and the body. But you, as a formless, will exist forever. Have a good day.